Okay, I hope everybody's comfortable and ready to do this. What is going on? Welcome to the Banky and Joe show.
Yeah, the Banky and Joe After Prison Show podcast.
Yeah, so I want to make some clarifications real quick as we begin this. And also real quick, a very special shout out to Mr. Darnell Phillips.
Hey.
We're just starting the podcast, the After Prison podcast, an entirely new entity from After Prison Show, the Banky and Joe show, a.k.a. the After Prison podcast. Hopefully that's not too confusing.
I don't think so. I've seen longer names, super long names on podcasts lately. So, yeah, I think it's a good little name right there. Something we can run with, something we can take off with.
Mm-hmm. But with the beginning of this podcast endeavor that we're on, you know, Banky came super strong with the first guest. Very special shout out to Travion Blunt for his appearance.
Shout out to Trey. He did a good job. He got his story out there. I think that's the main thing that we want to do with the podcast is be able to showcase, you know, the good things that people is doing after they done got out of prison. So, you know, thus the name. So, you know, he doing a lot of good things. He was faced with a big situation. He overcame that. He's doing a lot of good things. And then we got Darnell Phillips, who's also doing exemplary things. And so I think the first two guests hit out the park.
Powerhouse is where I was going with that. You know, Banky came super strong with our first guest. So I brought a guest to the table. And who better to bring than, again, Mr. Darnell Phillips with his powerhouse of a voice and amazing story.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey.
Glad to be here.
I want to say, and I'm not trying to overtalk the guest. I've read the comments. We're going to do better on this podcast. And we got Joelle behind the scenes, so it's going to be good. But one thing that I want to mention real quick, and then Darnell, you got the floor. I hit Darnell Phillips up yesterday, Saturday. It's Sunday as we're filming this. I was like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? We got a podcast. I'd like to have you as a guest. Darnell was like, what time? So glad to have him.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah,
man.
Big shout outs for that. And I'm just meeting Darnell. You know, Darnell did a lot of time as well as I. And we was just briefly talking a little while ago, and it seemed like, you know, like I say, when people do a lot of time, you be crossing paths. Come to find out we was on the same places at the same time, just never ran right across each other directly. But
how crazy is that?
It happens.
We're just
all
proud to
the
admit for this
time.
here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, sir. Likewise, bro.
And I ain't heard nothing but good things about you, so, you know.
Vice versa,
pleasure
bro.
to meet you.
You know, I told Darnell prior to us beginning the podcast, I said, look, you know, this is probably the third, fourth time that I've gotten a chance to do filming with Darnell. I said it's going to be the same old thing. I want to get the opportunity to share your story because I don't feel like your story can be shared enough. You know, what you went through specifically, 27, 28 years in prison for a crime that you didn't commit. And as we begin this, Darnell, you know, introduce yourself, please, and give us a brief rundown of what your story is.
Again, APS audience, Banky Joe show. First of all, I appreciate y'all for having me up here. My story began in 1990. In 1990, I was in the process, as I said before, of going out to pursue a music career. I was trying to get a demo made with Public Enemy. Howbeit, just so happened that day, like a half a mile up the road, there was a rape abduction of a young lady. And we didn't have any way of knowing it. But, you know, my brother and I, my buddy Michael Norfleet, God bless him, we were just trying to go around the corner, get to the DJ, and before you know it, the police came around the corner, and he asked us, you know, have we seen anybody come by us? Of course, we had seen somebody come by us, but we had no way of knowing whether or not, you know, what this person was doing. He just wanted a light. My friend gave him a light. And so as we further went around the corner, police asked, well, we want to talk to y'all. We're like, sure, officer. You know, so he came back around the corner. Before you know it, he spoke with us. I didn't have any of the descriptive clothing or whatever. I didn't even have the height or whatever, but I think I had a hat like supposed the individual that the victim had said. And 2 days later, I was arrested, falsely accused, wrongly accused. In prisons, they said it was for rape, abduction, malicious ruining of a young lady, to which I had so many eyewitnesses. You know, pastor's wife, my friend Michael, who could support my alibi that where I was, you know. And so from then, you know, I was sentenced to 107 years in prison for a crime I didn't do.
I just think that's horrible. You were sentenced to 100 and how many?
107 years.
And you ended up doing?
I ended up doing 27, almost 28 years.
That's amazing.
Before the Innocence Project gets involved and gets you out. Real quick, I want to go back to what you just shared right there, because I don't know if we may have, but we got to really talk about what you just said. You know, you're on your way around the corner to go do this music thing, and this guy comes up and asks you for a light for a cigarette.
Yes, a middle age. I'm thinking at the time, because I was 18. I'm thinking the guy probably was around maybe about 30 years old. He appeared to be an older gentleman, and
this was potentially the guy that committed this crime.
it's a possibility, because when I look back, the clothing that I saw, right, and the clothing that the victim described later on that I found out in the police reports, it's a very strong possibility it was, you know, because she said that her attacker was an older person, right? But the police they shaped it to look as if it was me the whole time.
Did she say white guy, black guy?
She said it was a black guy.
Was the guy that asked you for a cigarette?
He was a black guy.
Oh,
Black guy. Actually, like I said, he smarter than I was or whatever, right? But nevertheless, just that day talking to that person, right? It makes me think, because we were just trying to be helpful. We were on our way to just record music. I never would have thought, because my conscience was clear, and I just wanted to go forth. You know, I'm in the process of pursuing my dreams.
Right.
You know, I really wanted to get into this thing. So I had only one central focus, not the streets, but get into my music. And so for that day to run across that individual, I don't know whether that person did a crime or not, but to run across an individual and just your whole life altered in a split second, you know, that right there, that's something I'll never forget, man. Nothing. I'll never forget that.
How old were you?
I was 18 years old, man. 18 years old. Had no intentions of the streets. You know what I mean? It didn't hold my attention.
And one thing, forgive me.
Yes, sir.
Forgive me. Forgive me. I didn't mean to cut you off. I want to throw this in here real quick. It's important. You had never been in trouble before in your past.
Nah, never.
18 years old, never been in trouble.
And that, you know, and I try to stress that a lot when I talk to the young guys out here now. Like I say, one mistake can change your entire life.
Can.
But the mistake of somebody else can also alter your life.
Yes, it can. Yes, it
So,
can.
you know, like I say, what you went through is, man, just for you to be sitting right here now, and I know better than most people, you know, that's just a testament to your character and your fortitude, because to be able to do 27, almost 28 years and maintain your sanity for a crime that you did not commit, man, that's amazing, man. That is amazing right there. Your story alone is amazing just on those facts alone, man.
Definitely.
Because I did 33 years and I had some guilt in my crime and I accept my responsibility.
Right.
But each and every day was hard to make it through them
Yes, it
33
is.
years. I can't imagine going through that and I had no involvement in my case. I couldn't imagine it, man.
Yeah.
So you're a strong brother.
Yeah, most certainly. And I've felt that way and voiced those same remarks to you, Darnell, just how you were able to maintain your sense of self throughout all that you went through. You know, let's take our time with this and let's really dissect this if you'll allow us to. You get arrested for this crime. You know, is there a police lineup that takes place? Walk us through like this initial beginning of these 27 years that you would spend locked up.
Well, from what I learned, because there was so much deception in the case, I found out a lot of things in 2016, right, when things started to really unravel. I remember that they took a picture. What I was told, they took a picture of me and they put it in a lineup of guys, me with a hat on, and they took it to the victim.
And nobody else had a hat on.
The victim said, the hat looks, no one else had a hat on. Said the hat looks familiar because that was a very popular hat in 1990. Chicago Bulls hat, Michael Jordan, that was a very popular hat. You know, you go to Lynn Haven Mall in Virginia Beach and you will see about 5, 6 guys, you know, with that same hat on. But at that moment, they took a picture of me to the victim's house. She didn't recognize the face, but she said the hat. But nevertheless, 2 days later is what the police did. They came and they arrested me. I didn't realize it, when they picked me up because I was on my way to the beach. Like I said, just living my life. I never forgot that I was questioned by the police officers. I didn't forget that because when I came home that night, I had told my mother, and she was like, "Well, that's a horrible situation." I had compassion on what I heard about a young girl being, raped, and so, I didn't think like I say after that, I really didn't think too much of it, right? But
Did you have that hat?
Yes, I did. Like I said, as many others did. The same type of hat in that area.
Did the guy who came and asked you for the lighter, did he have that hat?
I didn't see one on him. He didn't have a hat on, but he had on, some white and gray on. To which I later on found out that pretty much that's what the person who did the crime had on.
Right.
So
they put you in a police lineup with you being the only person wearing a hat. They're definitely trying to manipulate the story to make it seem like they found the guy. What about the information that you gave to the police about this other individual? Do you feel like they ever pursued that? Was there any mention of that?
No, because I couldn't really go into detail about it, right? Because it was only like within a few seconds,
Hey, I saw this guy.
Yeah, he just wanted a light, And like I said, I didn't think anything about it. I had on all brown and black. They were looking for somebody who had white and green on. They had their white shirt with green letters 42. Well, Green Run had the colors green, right? White and green or whatever, right? And I had on all brown and black, everything. Black Nikes, black pants, black and brown shirt. You know what I mean? The bucket Chicago Bulls hat. So to me, like I said, right, I wasn't thinking about anything like that. The only thing I would do every day is 6 o'clock in the morning, I go jogging because I was boxing my cousin. He was about to go pro. And so my whole day and whole life consisted of that. Trying to train, trying to get into this music business, right? Trying to duck the streets. Of course, I grew up, like I said, majority of the guys I dealt with right now, they've been in the streets, you know what I mean? Drug rings, everything. But me, that didn't really hold my attention. And so when I was accosted by the police officers, of course, I was a little friendly towards them because I didn't have any beef with any police officer. Like I said, I had never been in trouble. So where I lived at in the Kempsville area of Virginia Beach, when officers spoke to you, you talked to them. They knew you by name. But this was totally different. This was a totally different type of set of officers, right? And so when I talked to the police that night, they took me down to that police station. Of course, separated me from my friends or whatever. We discussed it. They never told me what I was locked up for, what I was going to be talked about in the interrogation room till a little bit later on. And then just finally, I met one police officer in there, guy. I don't want to mention his name, but it's like I say, it's all in the newspapers or whatever. And this guy began to immediately accuse me. He immediately accused me to a degree that I could tell that he was pretty much disgusted. For real, right? He probably was just disgusted. He just wanted to close the case, and just so happened he wanted to close the case, but he wanted to use an innocent individual. I don't think he really cared whether or not I was guilty or not. But the person, he just began to accuse me, and without any type of paperwork, any type of signing any signatures. Because the only thing I signed the Miranda form. I didn't know anything about legal documents or anything like that.
Just to give them the opportunity.
That's what I did, just to sign that so I can get a phone call. I want to call my family.
But they made you sign over your Miranda, and they held the phone call over your head.
Yeah, but I never got a chance to use that phone call. The last time they took me to I remember they took me to the magistrate's office. In the magistrate's office, they gave me a bunch of papers, a bunch of, I guess, green papers, pink, whatever. And I'm looking at the papers. I'm like, what is this? The man said, that's your life. I'm like, my life? Then again, like I said, like a lot of young African-American men, I did not know anything about the judicial system.
Them green and pink papers were felonies and misdemeanors, weren't they?
Yeah. So I'm
the charges that they were given to you.
Right. But see, he told me that was my life, and he told me I was never going home.
He was just being a smart ass about it.
Yeah, because I didn't know anything about that. So the thing is, what they did, that took my heart when he told me I was never going home, and that surely that when I get in the courtroom, unless I told him that I did the crime, He'd say, I'm gonna bring the girl in there, pigtails, she's gonna be crying. And so to me, I'm listening, I'm like, well, can you please help me? I said, I didn't do this. And so the dude acted like he was trying to help me, but then I looked at the side of my eye, right, my peripheral or something. And the dude was he was berating me, mimicking me and everything like that, right? Started calling me all type of names, and finally he got up. I said, man, just go about your business, right? You're not trying to help me, trying to hurt my life. Well, this individual, he said, well, it doesn't matter what you said. He said, it don't matter. I said, man, I didn't tell you anything. He said, it doesn't matter anyway. He said, who you think they're gonna believe, me or you? So I'm like, is this really going on? So I didn't think, like I said, the next day, I didn't know that they had came to my mother's house, God bless her soul. I didn't know they had came to my mother's house and told her that you'll never see your son again, because she kept asking, where's my son? You came over here. They came to my house to look for stuff, go all in the hampers and things of that nature. We've never had anything like that in my household. So,
what were they looking for?
They were looking for like garments and things of that nature, stuff that later on they found out that it didn't have it in my DNA and none of that crap on. You know what I mean?
And that they didn't find in your house anyway.
Yeah, but they made it as if. Then they said they took the brown and black shirt I had on, even though they were looking for white and green, and this is documented, they were still parading this in the court as if this is the shirt. This is the item to which proves that this man did it. But they were supposed to be looking for somebody that had white and green. They had a brown and black shirt parading in the court. So it's like you're standing outside of yourself looking like, oh, that's brown and black. Can't they see that? And and they even said the person had an earring. At the time, my ear had been closed for like 3 years. It had got infected when I was younger. Got somebody else, to do it. But so there was a whole lot of little discrepancies outside of the fact that I had a lot of witnesses, a whole group of young men that I was with trying to do music. They saw me. Some of the women who were coming back from a gym, they saw me. They saw I had on all brown and black. I stayed 10 miles away from that neighborhood. I wasn't driving at the time at all, so how was I gonna get 10 miles away to my house, come back, change, those were impossibilities, but it didn't seem like they were trying to find the truth. It seems as if they were just trying to get a conviction. And because, like I said, because that was probably such a violent crime in the area, they just wanted to get it shut, closed, and they just so happened to close it on an innocent man's life.
That's amazing, man. Like I say, your story is a testimony, though, but it's also an eye-opener to let people know out there. Like I say, it ain't always what you do, too. It's where you be at. You got to always watch your surroundings. You got to pay attention to what's going on around you, because you could be in an area where something happened and you could end up getting the blame for it. And I know a lot of people who went through stuff like that, and sadly enough, it happens more often than people know about.
I'm more conscious of it now. I'm gonna tell you, Banky, I'm more conscious of it now because the other morning I was jogging, right? And so it was just so happened the lady stopped. Now this is my neighborhood, the same neighborhood I'm in right now that I was arrested at and came back to.
Right.
I'm jogging around the neighborhood, and this lady, it's a Caucasian lady. She was in a SUV, so she stopped real sudden. And I was like, "Go ahead on, I'm running in place. I'm running in place. Go ahead." So I saw her pick up a phone. So I'm like, "What in the world?" But because of what I've been through, I'm kind of more conscious, right? That you can be accused of something you didn't do. You be mistaken identity. So I'm like, okay, well. Then all of a sudden, I went up a little further down the block. Now, mind you, I saw some police officers come. So I'm just looking, just still looking. And all of a sudden, I saw them turn into court. And that replayed back in my mind, man, almost 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. That replayed back in my mind. I'm like, oh, come on, not this foolishness again, right? It just so happened, though. I don't know what happened. Somebody might have seen me running through the neighborhood. I don't know. But big black guy running. But they drove past me, right? And so to me, I was just conscious. You know what I mean? I was just conscious. Even when I finished running, I just stood in front of the police. I stood in front of my house door and I just looked, right? Mm. Because I know how easy it is for a person to get entrapped into a situation they had nothing to do about. Now, everybody's not conscious of that. I'm conscious of it because I went through,
Yeah, that's something that me and Joe we just talked about in the last podcast, that you may be conscious of it now because of what you went through,
right,
which is also a form of that PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what you went through now, you see a similar situation, you will react different. You look at it different. It means different things to you.
Yes.
Even though you know you innocent, like you knew you was innocent back in them days, so your conscience wasn't open to like, man, these people trying to pin something on me. You more like, okay, no, officer, yes, officer, trying to help him. But in actuality, they trying to hurt you. And see, now your brain open to that because of your experiences.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. I want to say, what the hell happened with this situation? Like, this woman literally called the cops?
I don't know, because like I said, it was so fast. Someone may have, because I normally go try to like run 2 miles. Normally I would just like stay around the area, but since my mother passed away, I tend to go out more because it's just me in the morning. My brother's just he and I in that house. And so, he doesn't get off until like maybe 7 that morning or whatever. So I was like, I had ran maybe about I was like on my 2nd mile, coming back through the neighborhood, had ran over there by the highway, coming back through. So possibility somebody saw me running through,
Right.
but this is my neighborhood, so I'm not thinking anything about it, right? But I am conscious. So just so happened when I saw her stop, I'm like, what the world? You know what I mean? Because she wouldn't let, she was like, no, you go. And I'm like, okay. And so I just started, but then I'm like, it's such a coincidence to see the police coming up, right? You know what I mean? You never know, right? And I'm gonna be honest with you, right? I have a friend who's an officer, right? He's a cool dude, right? He told me, he said somebody might have saw you running through there. He said, you think about it, he said, you pretty big black guy, you running through this neighborhood, And so they might have said something. He said, you never know, right? He said, don't just take that as a coincidence. I'm like,
No, exactly. That's where I'm going with this. Like, did the police stop and say anything
no,
to you?
they didn't say anything, right? Probably because when they looked at me, they're like, oh, shoot. You know
He
what I mean?
is jogging.
Yeah, the dude jogging, right? But I mean, think about a big black guy running through the neighborhood, 6 foot something, And
But think about all the crazy things that are taking place
Yeah.
in the news. And I mean, this is how these situations begin. You just get, the woman just thinks that you look guilty. She probably didn't even see anything take place. Like, this isn't because her house just got broke into. She's looking at you possibly like, well, maybe he did just do something. Like, it's just crazy thinking about what you've already been through, to think that, this is almost this situation happening to you again to a certain degree. You don't know what this is about or what this could have turned into for you.
Yeah, like I say, it's so many. Prison in and of itself, right? There's a strong possibility, right? And I know you can attest to it. There's a little bit of PTSD that come with that after being released. You can't really get by it, right? You can have a healthy, normal behavior, but there's still a remnant that's in your mind. Okay, well, because like I said, you're in a world, and once your mind has been expanded to a degree that you recognize injustice and things that go on out here, it's difficult, man, not to see the world the same way. I saw the world as kind of innocent, I looked at it, well, you know what, everybody, I speak to them, they speak to me, I like them, they like me. I was just like say friendly, I was a real friendly type of person, right? But now, even though I'm caring and friendly, I'm very cautious. I'm extremely cautious, man. Because that right there, that bothered me. It just gave me pause, because I'm like, okay, now once I went in, took my shower, I'm like, okay. I said, man, I gotta go down here to a laundromat. I want to wash some microfiber towels from my car, right? And I'm like, man. So I kept my eyes open. I really did. For about half of the day, I kept my eyes open. Even when I came back through the neighborhood, right? Something else weird happened, right? But I saw what it was. It was the end of a lady's journey, right? When she was walking, because it's an Oriental lady. She walks through the neighborhood every morning and afternoon. So what she did was, she'll normally speak to me, but she's never seen me in the car. So when she got to the car, she spun around real fast. I'm like, oh man, come on. But then later on, I realized that when I spoke to her, she said, I saw you the other day. I said, what you see? She said, I saw you in the car. I said, you see what I mean? Even though it wasn't anything, the possibilities to me in my mind, they were present. They were present, man. So yeah, that's a little teeny bit of PTSD there. you know.
But it's also some very real stuff that's happening to you
doubt.
at the same time. I mean, like you had mentioned, the cop had told you, you know, the chances that was a coincidence are probably pretty low. That was actually probably exactly what you saw it to be. Somebody was like, hey, what is he doing? You know, who is that guy in that car? Or why is this black guy running through the neighborhood like this? You know, those were probably real things that were actually taking place.
Yeah, and if something had happened in that neighborhood,
Yeah.
you rest assured they would have picked you up and asked you what was you doing out there. You would have had to explain what you're doing out there. Did you actually live in that neighborhood? All of that you would have had to explain. You know, but like I said, I can understand that PTSD is real. You know, Joe said, like I said, he discussed it before. He had brought it up. He said, you know, before on his platform, and it's a real situation. You know, and like I said, told you a little while ago, I believe also for people's family who has been locked up that long, their family has some type of, like my mother. My mother calls me every day, a couple of times a day. First thing out of her mouth when I answer the phone is not hello, where you at? That's the first thing she always say, because it's a form, I guess she want to know accountability, like where I'm at, in case somebody say I did this, in case somebody say she want to know where I'm at.
She just worried about you after what you've been through.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, and and like I say, I'm 54 years old. You know what I'm saying? And she still does that, and I still, you know, respect that, because I know what she feels, because I've been out of her life for so long.
She's
in her 70s. You know what I'm saying? So she want to know where I'm at, and I'm gonna tell her where I'm at.
Yes, sir.
You know, I be doing lives and phone ring, and you know, people done see me and everything. I said, hold on, this is my mother. You know, one live I did, I had forgot to cut the phone off, and it was my mother, and I answered it on the live, and they hit me in the case. Yeah, you answer your mother. Yeah. I'm saying to myself, I ain't got no choice.
No doubt.
It's my mother. You know.
You know, I want to continue on a little bit, Darnell, with more of what you got going on now, more of just your story for anybody who is not familiar with it. You would end up doing 27 years in prison. You know, what would it be that would lead to you getting another chance at life?
Well, the Innocence Project at UVA, they came into my life in 2010, right after my father had passed away. You know, they came to visit me. One of the guys, I'll never forget him, you know, friends to this day, named Dennis Barrett. Dennis Barrett came up there. He said, Darnell, he said, I'm about to graduate. I have like 6 months left. He said, but I'm going to do what I can to get you out of here. I said, you read my case? He said, I've read your case. He said, I've even talked to the guy who was your alibi witness. I said, man, you know what I mean? Because mind you, right, you know the frustrations in prison life, especially after a loved one passes away. My father was waiting for me to come home. So I was like, man, I said, finally, even though I always believed I was going to walk out of there, I said, finally, I got some help, physical help manifesting. And so, you know, it was like, so he said, I dug, he said, I'm trying to find some DNA. They couldn't find DNA. You know, several times they had said, well, you know, the DNA was destroyed. I'm like, God. But a little bit after that, I got fast forward some years, maybe about 5 or 6 years later, just so happened UVA Innocence Project, they started coming to agreement as to what case they're going to work on. One of my lawyers now, Jenny Givens, she had said, you know, Darnell, you know, even if they didn't have DNA, we're still going to work on your case. I was like, man. So they went down to the courthouse. They got to digging on another case. Come to find out that the people down there, the clerk said, well, we have some information on, you know, Darnell Phillips, right? Because they were looking for a file. She's like, well, what? She said, what do you have? They're like, well, you know, she said, we have some stuff. And I'm like, she's like, well, you know, we got paperwork. But they end up finding out they had a bag full of DNA clothing, child stuff.
So
the same stuff they said was destroyed for years, it was right there the whole time.
Forgive me, real quick. You know, the evidence in this case, the stuff that they used against you was misplaced. They couldn't find this stuff for a long time, and it was just because of some clerk at a clerk's office. Thank God for this woman. She knew some kind of a way, oh, wait, we've got something from that Darnell Phillips case down in some evidence locker or something like that. And that's what really got that ball rolling once they got that clothing with that DNA evidence on it.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did, man. What's sad was that they had, good thing about it for DNA and technology coming out, because they had put my clothes and the victim clothes in the same bag.
Wow.
That just tells you how careless, you know.
And that's going to contaminate it regardless.
Yeah, it's going to contaminate or whatever, right? But, you know, thank God, like I said, they had enough profiles to show that it wasn't me. Right. And the only thing that, like with the DNA, they said I think it's 10 in every 100 black men have like pretty much like three of the same markers. It's just so happened that this person has 3 markers like my African American. But once you get down looking at the rest of the profile, it'll show you that it's not me. You catch me? The first DNA that they tested that was supposed to have been convicted me in court, they said it had like 14 particulars, right? But then when they tested it, we had Department of Defense. They tested the DNA in 2001 after them years, and they said that's not the guy. It is not your client. It's not him. Of course, I knew this and my family knew this, but we had already spent a lot of money on this thing. My father was putting his retirement money, all those things. Those things were changing, I guess, the comfortability of my family's living, all because they were investing it in my case, all because they wanted to see me have a life, you know? And so once they got that tested, we spent about 3 times going to labs in Virginia. They said they could not find anything at all. So they said, they went to court, said, well, no, can we get this sent somewhere else? My lawyer said, Darnell, well, this is like kind of like a last ditch effort to get things done because technologically Virginia's not that advanced. And so they said there was like a vacuum method. So a guy in California, he tested it, and he said that first he's like, I can't find anything. And then he started testing around the spots that Virginia tested around. And once he tested around that, he said, that's where the DNA at. You know, so they couldn't find it, but he found it after he suctioned everything up or whatever. And so, you know, they say, well, no, it's not me. You know what I mean? And even though the person had 3 markers like me, it wasn't me because of the rest of the profile. Right. But they needed them. They haven't had an opportunity to get into the database. Privately, they had been testing somebody else a while ago, right, that I saw, you know, with the Freedom of Information Act. They had tested somebody else, but that never was brought out because I guess they're figuring that we got this guy, he's locked up, you know, he's been doing much time. And so finally, like I say, the tenacity of the Innocence Project, you know, my family going back and forth to court, you know, and people, you know, in a higher up, you know, believing, just so happened, they fought for me to get me parole, and they got me parole, you know, based on DNA, based on, God bless the victim. The victim, after she found out, she was like, well, look, you know, she shared with them really what happened, how the police told her that I said that I did it, to which I didn't. You know, so it was a lot of things that were being unveiled in 2016 that were covered up from 1991 on up.
I want to clarify something real quick.
Sir.
They went to the victim and told the victim that you said you did it.
Then, yeah, in court, right?
But you never said that you did this.
No, but they didn't have any type of records or anything like that. But the thing about it is, the victim had said that they told her she couldn't change her story. This is in documents, this is in newspapers, and this is well as in court documents. And on an affidavit, she said she told them that they wouldn't let her change her story or anything. So she said she just went off of, it's on a Wavy TV10 interview, I believe, right? She just went off of what they said, right. But that wasn't the case. They wouldn't let her change her story. They told her you better stick by the story. And so they showed, they had even with the composite, right? She said they made her do like several composites rather than just one. They made her do several composites. And it just so happened, she told them, even you can go on YouTube or whatever and look at this old, she said that that's a kid. What she meant by that is that the person who did the crime is an older person, you know? And so even with the description, it's like everything was pretty much fabricated. And so when you're getting into a place whereby you're trying to frame somebody, for whatever reason, right? Whether just to close the case, but we see now over these several years, right, how it's been getting exposed, how many innocent people locked up. But, you know, you have to go deep into deception, you know. To me, I would, like I said, you know, I'm thinking the person had to just numb their conscience, however you do that, right? To just do something and destroy a person's life, take a person's life from them, right? because you don't realize these are human beings, with dreams, with hope, desires. All those things I had, those things were arrested. You know what I mean? They were arrested with me. So I was behind bars every day, every night. That's what I thought about. Like, wow, I know one day I'm going to get out of here. I don't know when, but I mean, it's like the older I get, them dreams just dwindle. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, it was a difficult situation, man.
Speak about that. Back up a little bit and
sir.
explain about how you felt knowing that you was innocent before you got all the way to the point where you saw some light, where you saw somebody was really trying to help you and it's going to make a difference. How was you coping during your time? Never being locked up before, never being, in jail or prison, but now you in a full out prison and you doing years and years and years, for something you ain't do. How would you transition in prison? Because like I say, I know how I felt when I first got to prison, never being locked up before. It's just like a new world.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a whole different set of circumstances, and you have to have a lot of different life skills. Because when I went into prison, different from when, like I said, I had the opportunity to see the changing of the laws, right? And so when I came to prison, guys like coming from the wall, like guys from that generation, from your time, and coming from the wall, right, to the prison. Prison was very violent. Respect had to be done. Even the officers didn't even want to look in the cell because it was just that violent, especially Greenville. Yeah. And so when I got into the prison, right, me personally, I wanted to, it maybe seemed a little different, but I wanted to get into ministry because I always had a strong desire to help people. So I promised myself, I promised God while I was in the jail, I said, you know what? I said, regardless of how much time I have to do, I said, I'm going to serve, I'm going to do what I believe my life calling is. I want to help, I want to mentor people. So even though I was young, I still would use my limited experience to help people. So what I did, man, I pretty much utilized my faith. I realized that there were certain things I wanted to do. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So what I would do is I would study a lot of books on that. Any course I would take at the prison, they had very limited amount, but I would take a course that's going to be germane to where I was trying to go. So I lived with the end in mind, I didn't want to get comfortable with that place, so I tried not to adapt any of their ways. I really didn't even want to eat the food, man. You know how it was. I didn't want to eat the food. I didn't want to. I associate with a lot of people because I love people.
Right.
But I got into relationships that seemed like people were going the same direction I was.
Right.
And so, and you got to be careful with that in prison because sometimes some guys put on airs as if they go in that direction. But really, sometimes guys do stuff like that for protection. I didn't want to join myself with individuals like that. So a lot of times, I would, I pretty much, man, would just do working out by myself sometimes. Sometimes I would join guys. I would just study anything I could get my hands on, I would study. As far as me, like I said, Greenville, there was a lot of lockdowns. What part I was staying at, there were a lot of stabbings at the time. I mean, guys was getting raped. I'm not trying to sound vile, but that's prison life.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the territory, So me personally, none of those things happened to me. And a lot of dudes gravitated towards me. You know what I mean? Some guys who were doing the things gravitated towards me, but not for that. For whatever reason, dudes kept telling me, they said, man, I dig you, youngin. I say, cool, man. You know what I mean? And so I was like, well, so I had even though I had that crime on me, I had a very different journey from a lot of dudes. Some guys, when you go in that situation, you got any type of sexual assault charge, whatever, you gonna get it. You can get mashed. You subject to get raped. You subject to get robbed. I didn't have that situation.
And why was it different for you?
To me,
I mean, obviously you were innocent, but did dudes know that? Everybody probably says that, right?
Well, some guys do it if they trying to cover up. Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean? But my case in the beginning was high profile. So a lot of dudes saw me going to street court. And so they were like, well, when they saw me, when they met me, they were like, something ain't right about this, You know what I mean? I'm like, what you talking about, right? Because to do a crime like that, something has to be wrong with you, bro. You know what I mean? And you generally, by doing time, you can kind of tell people, you can feel people out. Yeah. You develop a certain type of discernment about character. You know, you can just tell certain things. There's certain indications. Yeah. And dudes didn't indicate anything like that. So the whole time I was locked up there, right, dudes, they believed that. They believed me from the giddy up, you know. Right. They showed it, whether it was Nation of Islam, whether it was the Christian faith, whether it was gang members, people just believed that. You know what I mean? And so they always say, I know, dude, Darnell, man, you, regardless of how many years, they were like, well, man, Darnell, man, I heard, man, you were locked up behind something you didn't do. This all throughout my bid, you know what I mean? Outside of working out and being large, it didn't really, in prison, it don't really matter if you big, because look, if you got a certain type of charge, dudes automatically going to interpret it like, look, that joker weak, he did something. That could have been my sister, that could have been, but it just so happened, I didn't go through any of that. And the part I was in, majority, they were filled with Washington guys. The DC cats. So DC cats really don't care. They mob up on you, whatever. Yeah. And so some of the guys, I knew a couple of guys from the street from Washington in there. You know what I mean? So some of the guys, and one of the youngest, so he said, look, I got this guy named Stink. He said, Don, he said, you know, dude. He said,
know him?
He said,
I know him. I got pictures of him on my phone. He out now too. You know, he just got out.
Is it? Not skinny Stink. It's a,
okay, yeah.
It's I think you're talking about the skinny one. Yeah. I'm talking about like this it's a light skinned one. We were about the same size. He had a goatee at the time. I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. But he said, man, you know why dudes? He said, you don't never wonder why you don't get robbed and nothing like that. I said, why? You know, they loud, got the go-go music playing in the corner, and they pretty much you couldn't even go to the store at Greenville. Going them back steps, the dude split that bag open, rob you or whatever. But he said, you don't. I said, nah, not really. You know, he's like, well, he said, nah, man. He said, dudes mess with you, man. He said, dudes believe in you, man. I'm like, yeah. And he just went on about his way, right? But it's just that I'm gonna be honest with you, though I hated doing time, never wanted to be there. But the people I met, right? I met some guys, I met some cats that I never saw inmates the same way. You know what I mean? I know the inmates, but I never saw them the same way because these were the guys that when things went down, they bonded with you. I remember, man, one time a guy had stole something from me. This was a guy who came from other part of the cluster. They were stealing IDs and stuff. But I remember I had some Nation of Islam guys from the gang members, Washington, everywhere else, old timers, new dudes. They were like, well, look, man, dude stole something. You're a good dude. They said, I know you can take care of yourself, man. They said, we see you out here boxing on the yard. I said, I know you can take care of yourself. Dude said, but nah, they stole from a good guy. And so
what did they steal from you?
Well, he stole my ID, stuck his, back then in the early 90s, you remember the IDs, you can take the picture out. If you get it, you can steam it open. Well, he steamed it open, put his picture in, and then went to the store and spent my money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Elaborate schemes.
Because you gotta realize, man, you know this, like, look, y'all attest to it that some of the most intelligent men in the world are behind bars. You cannot get by that. The unlimited, untapped potential that's behind bars is ridiculous. Yeah. Like the cure of AIDS, I got to be behind bars somewhere. You know what I mean? If they haven't got it now, right? And so, the guy did that, stole from me. But dudes like, man, dudes were really gonna hurt this guy. And Greenwoods were violent. It was a very violent place, right? One dude said, look, he's about to go home. He said, man, man, we meet him in the stairway. I said, nah. I can handle myself. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is I had to make some decisions then. Just because you don't want to mess with someone and doesn't mean they don't want to mess with you. You catch me?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so he was coming and interfering in my life. And I said, if I'm going to live my faith, then I'm going to have to live it in real time, I could have, in my flesh, did I want to choke the guy up? You better bet it. Because I'm going to tell you who the guy was. The guy was my cell partner. I stayed up all night long in the cell. When he was on bed, he knew something was wrong. And so sometimes in there, I'd be, be in the room at nighttime. I'd be in there, you might make up your little bag or whatever. You hit in the bag, you box, you might take the pillow, the mattress up by the wall. I hit the wall, you know what I mean? And so just working out, trying to get a little workout, a little sweat, whatever. And so, because, I worked in the kitchen, so you can get out early in the morning and go take a shower. So I would do that, but that night, I didn't have to go to work next morning. So I sat on that toilet, that cold metal toilet in the cell. And I'm sitting, I'm like, man, I got to do something to this dude. I mean, that was in my flesh, you know what I mean? But my spirit, my heart, I'm like, Nah, man, I want to go home. I said, I want to go home. I want to live my life, right? That's something small. But principle in prison, if a person steals from you, and if an individual, just so happened though, right? If a person steals from you and you don't do something about it, it appears weak. But it just so happened that that's not the same in all cases, because all the old timers like, look, bro, we know you can do something to the dude, but I appreciate you walking in what you say you walking in. He said, you just ain't around here preaching, just running your mouth. You trying to walk this thing out. And so, just so happened I didn't have to do anything. But
what did you do? Please explain that. Like, please explain the resolution you came to in that situation.
You know what I did?
Because he had to be scared to death.
He was on the wall. I was singing. I had to sing, man, 'cause I had to keep myself down. Because I really wanted to grab him out of that bunk, right?
You were singing.
Look, no, I had to sing. I had to sing some gospel or something. Because look, I wanted to grab.
That's when I'm going to be scared.
I mean, we were both two young dudes, right? I was like, man, you know, at the time, after my prime, you know, was out there hitting like I was working with the old timers, hitting like 1,000 push-ups a day, hitting the yard. So I'm like, man, I'm sitting on that toilet. I said, I'm gonna grab this cat. But you know what? He was like this. He was set up the whole night. Even I'm like, and I just stayed on that toilet the whole night singing. Oh, yeah. Just sitting on that whole cold hard toilet, sitting on it with with my sneakers and everything on. And so early that morning, you know what I did? I went out there, man, took a shower, came back in. It was tempting for me even when I came back in, right? I said, man, I'm gonna smack this guy. Then I said, nah, I can't do it. So what I did, I went to the hallway. I said, look, you know what? I told the lady named Lieutenant Patterson. I said, Lieutenant, I said, look, just move me. I said, move me, right? I need to go. I said, because I just need to go. She said, what is it? She said, one of the officers told me your money was stolen. I didn't know this dude was a part of a ring in another cluster that they were doing that. I said, well, look, I'm not a snitch. I said, I can handle myself. For real, I don't know who did it. I told her I don't know who did it. But I found out that when I went to the hole, they put me in the hole because I told her, I said, I think I'm gonna do something. I ain't say to who. I said, I think I'm gonna do something. I said, because you know what? I said, I'm relatively mad. I spoke in outbursts. But what she did, she said, Phillips, why you say that to me? I said, look, man. I said, I'm angry, man. I said, why y'all let a stranger? Y'all know who I am. I've been on this camp for years. Why would y'all let somebody go steal all my money off my books? And so they put me in a hole for 2 days. But since I worked the staff kitchen at the time, the warden came back there, and he came walking by that Sunday. He said, Phillips, what you doing in there? I explained to him. So he put me right back in the pod. He said, you out of here, you be in the next day. But when I went back to the pod, same dude, old cell partner who didn't have any money, that joker had a full-blown store box.
The dude that stole from you.
Yeah. He had a full-blown store box, but they didn't put me in that cell. And so, after that, right, he was trying to tell me it was a gambling. I was gambling, because guys gamble a lot at Greenville. I was gambling, man, and look what I came up on. I said, right.
Oh, yeah, he had to explain himself to you.
Yeah, he did. First thing he did, right? And what got me was that sad part about it, some of the guys, in the pod were going to him. I guess they thought I was down for the count or something, right? They didn't realize I was coming back. But nevertheless, it's prison life. Right. You know what I mean?
How long were you into your sentence when this happened?
I was, man, probably about the 8th year.
Oh yeah, you need a pat on the back, because I wasn't even that strong in my 8th year. I would have been in the hole for something totally different.
Banky, it was hard because, like I said, I had a guy, man. This guy literally, right? He messed with me. I was receiving with him. Yeah. He from this area. He was like, look, man. He said, man, I can get him on that step. Yeah. Greenville guys were getting stabbed, and you couldn't tell. Yeah.
And what you were saying it's true. When dudes see guys that really don't get into nothing, they really ain't into nothing, and they know that this dude trying to be on the straight and narrow, and they try to see people taking advantage of them, dudes will step up, because like I said, a lot of dudes will feel like, okay, well, he don't want no drama, but if you really looking for something, you can get it right here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So dudes will really do that. Yeah. And then even more so, what you were saying about, even though, like you say, the case you had on you, but dudes ain't look at you like that. And Joe, what you said was something about people having that type of case too, and people might go at them. Let me tell you, about people, everybody in there saying that they innocent. Right. Let me tell you something. 33 years I did. I ain't never met a dude that had a rape charge say that he did it. Never.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But not just regular charge, but a rape charge. I never heard a dude say he did it. So people, like say your aura, people usually can tell, Every now and then you might get thrown off. Like me, I was locked up for 33 years. Every now and then somebody will tell me, they say, such, had a rape, he got a rape charge or whatever. But I try not to prejudge people anyway, because just like he was innocent, other people could actually be innocent. You not what you accused of all the time.
Right.
So I know that. But I have been shocked a couple of times when I knew people or have got to know them and been around them for a long time. Then they say, oh, well, he got a rape charge. I never knew it. You know what I'm saying? Never knew it. And I recently found that out about somebody now that's been out that I knew him his whole business. Somebody told me, did you know that's what he was locked up for? And I never knew that. Because that's another thing that you can attest to. You probably too, even though doing your 7, you don't ask people when you're locked up what you locked up for.
Which is kind of crazy to think about too, because you see it on TV all the time. That's the first thing. Oh, what you in for?
But that's false advertising. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's not real.
I have never had nobody walk up to me in prison and say, "Hey man, what you locked up for?" I just ain't never had, and I ain't never asked nobody that. I've been around people for decades and never knew what they was locked up for because it wasn't my business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'd never asked them. I definitely wouldn't have asked them. But people usually can see your character. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're accused of something like that, like rape or something. They usually can see your character to know if, I've seen dudes that was accused of rape. They say, I don't know what you call it, a profile or whatever. I looked at them and said, yeah, I can see it. You know what I'm saying? I can see it because their actions, the way they be acting, interacting while they, in there and around the women and the things they do, the way they carry, you can tell.
Right.
But the average dude, like I say, somebody like you, they probably was looking at you, see the way you was living, see the way you was conducting yourself. But like I say, that's just another test to your fortitude, bro. Because not only did he do that, but people don't realize he in the cell with you, man.
And look, I want to just clarify one thing as well. And Banky, you probably can, talk about this a little bit too. Darnell is huge. This dude, this is a big dude. And he be boxing. So it's not just that whole, big for nothing type of stuff. Dude be boxing, right? So he's going to knock your block off your shoulders if he want to do that. But you didn't choose to do that. You chose to take the high road, which is something that, probably very seldomly ever happens in there.
Yeah.
And who knows? You could have hurt that dude real bad, and now you're catch some street time, and now you're locked up for something that you did do.
Definitely.
Right. And that will set you back, too, and a lot of people probably don't understand that because they probably ain't been in that situation. When you catch time in prison, even before they change the laws, that's 100%.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
That's 100%.
Day for day.
You catch 10 years, you got to do 10 years.
And then after you finish,
then your sentence start back again.
Oh, so your original time pauses.
Pauses, flat time. 365 days of the year. You catch.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they implemented that, I guess, to try to cage the violence, where the consequences. So you go do something crazy, this is what you facing. But like I say, in them 90s, man, you had dudes in there that had extraordinary numbers, and it didn't even matter to them. You know what I'm saying? But you catch 5 years. And say you doing a 10-year bit, you 4 years into your sentence, and you get ready to get out, and you catch 5 years, you stop right there. You do them 5, and they pick back up where you left off. You mess around and catch 20, you can forget it, bro.
Darnell, you go through the time. I want to talk about this real quick. How long have you served? You did 27 years. How long have you served before the Innocence Project begins talking to you?
Well, when they started really digging in my case, I did about 24.
So it'd be another 3 years.
Yep, 3 years.
Before you would even get out. When you get released, you go to court. It's, you're in court. The judge releases you. Is that how that goes?
No, what they did was they gave me parole. Thank God for Adrian Bennett, right? They gave me parole, and like I said, she believed in my innocence. So what they did was I was told at first that you pretty much would go through reentry, but I think it was a victim. I don't know whether they still had that victim impact class or whatever.
Right.
Okay, I wrote a letter to the victim. They, because they want to know how you feel, because you think about it. If somebody had you locked up for a certain amount of years, they want to know what you feel about it. So what I did, I wrote the letter to them, and they gave it to the victim or whatever, right? I let them know I forgave her. It wasn't her fault. There were two victims in the situation. And so
You were the other victim.
Right. And I acknowledge that she had went through something, you know what I mean? Because like I said, right, she being lied to and I'm being lied on, right? Then there's two victims in that, you know what I mean? And so as they worked on my case, right, the only thing I did was prepare for it. I did, like I said, I did everything I've been doing all those years, staying ready. That's what I did, stay ready. And so it took them 3 years. Like I said, it was a battle back and forth. So once they released me on parole, I had already did 5 months in the reentry program. Mm-hmm.
That's so sad the way that they carried this on your case, because one thing that I've known since knowing you is, you're waiting to get a full exoneration.
Right.
And this is something that I feel like they're personally dragging their feet on, or just not even trying to give you, because as soon as you get that full exoneration, then there's other things that can come into play. They have fully acknowledged the fact that you were an innocent man who was locked up, and you're entitled to some sort of a monetary settlement for being falsely accused. But the way that they've carried your case, they gave you the parole, and where are you at in terms of the exoneration?
Right now, they are still trying to get all that stuff rectified. Because like I said, I had two things going on. Normally it takes a while for the absolute pardon to go through. Because like I said, I had a lot of people before me, but what they have done, they just restored my rights. They took me off of the parole, so I don't have to go to a parole office or anything like that or whatever it is. But what I still have to do is register like every 90 days.
As a
sex offender, yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
But I'm gonna tell you, I had a grace in that, because I'm good with the state trooper. I had a beautiful, wonderful parole officer, because she knew I would travel, do podcasts in New York and go talk in Richmond and things of that nature. And she always, look, just go, Darnell, because she read my case, so it was apparent to her. Then she got to know my personality, and then the troopers, they got to know my personality. So they like, this don't make no sense. You know what I mean? So, but nevertheless though, right? So I haven't been moving with restrictions. It's just that every 90 days, either I got the thumbprint put on paper, send it to them, after they send me a letter. I don't like that, because even though people where I live at, they're pretty much familiar, because when I came out, like I said, it was all over the news, plastered on the news. They don't forget you. When I go to the post office, right, they like, well, dog, man, they said I'd be glad when that mess get off you, right? But nevertheless,
why they mention that there?
They like the letter that, because I got to take it to the post office to get it sent off.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Just rather than put in the mail, I want to make sure I got proof of documentation, so that it wouldn't get lost in the mail or whatever. And so they like, every time they see that me coming with that, they like, I'd be glad that mess get off you, man. You know what I mean? Where they at? They were like, where you at in the process? So. Yeah, man. So other than that, though, man, I'm living and doing what I have to do. It hasn't slowed me down for real. I'm restricted in certain areas. Sad part about it, I got to park up the street. I want to run in that park, but because of the restriction of that, I can't go run in the park.
That's crazy.
It's sad part about it.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't go to the park, and there's several other areas. You know what I mean? And so I have to make sure, okay, when I'm going someplace, I check the surroundings, because I can't be within certain feet, And so that's something that I said, well, even though I don't like it, I love my freedom. You know what I mean? Right. I love my freedom. It never should have been stolen, but I love my freedom. So therefore I say, you know what? That's a smaller thing, because I could be in that cage.
Absolutely.
I remember every day, or I remember you waiting for times like spring, just to go outside and I can look at the sky at night. You know what I mean? The only thing about it is, though, the sun always set behind the building at Greenville. I was in the unit I was in, right? I'm looking over the medical and seeing the sun set down, but I had to look at it on the yard, listen to my music, contemplating, okay, look, man, when I get out, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to put this plan into effect. And so That I had to live. I don't know you live like that too. So you had a plan because you don't want your mind set in that place because you'll go crazy if you don't got a type of hope in your mind. If they not trying to give you no hope, you at least got to have some hope for yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much, man. Right now, so I'm just enjoying the liberties I do have because, like I said, it could be the person could have just not been honest. The victim could have said, well, could have took to the grave. You know what I mean? They could have just been afraid to give me parole.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So now I'm not thankful that I don't have that absolute pardon yet. I'm thankful that I was able to be out here for a couple of years with my family,
Yeah, and I always tell people, since I've been out too, the problems out here is better problems than you have in there.
Definitely.
So problems is problem, but they are way better problems because out here, you got more opportunities to correct your problems. You got every day to make things better, and you in a way better situation. So I understand exactly what you mean when you saying that. But like I say, this the after prison podcast. So tell them now, after you done got out and everything, what you doing now after prison. Tell them all the good things you doing there and just the limited amount of time that you have been out.
Like I said, now I've been out now going on 28 months. So I still have my mobile detailing business. Of course, they slowed down in the pandemic, so I went on the pandemic unemployment assistance. And so I started a clothing line called Black Chic Apparel, right? Women empowerment line, because women were the ones who fought behind me in my case. The victim, the woman was a person came forth. My mother, all those women, as when we locked up, a lot of times the men are not the ones who come and see us.
Right.
Right. But it seems as if the women who are behind bars, they're the ones who are most forgotten.
Right.
So this is like an empowerment brand to let women know, look, I see you. I see what you represent, and all across the board, whether it's white, Chinese, Latino, women are being forgotten. They're being mistreated. And so guys who've been behind bars for real and have seen these women busting down the doors just to come and to make sure you get some type of, some comfort. You know what I mean? You appreciate a woman. You see them different, And so now I've been working on that, the clothing line. I'm trying to make sure, because I started the clothing line with my friend, right? He had the idea. He had that idea come to him in a dream, named Alfonso Bailey, right? He's at Greensville right now. I said, I'll be the legs for you, I'll be the hands, legs for you, get the business off the ground.
Wow.
And, because we were like brethren. We did a lot of years together. I trust him. He trusts me. Sometimes those relationships behind bars are like, that's pure family. That's the only thing you can name. And so I've been doing that. Of course, you had it before. I had went up to Richmond, fought, got the writ of actual innocence law. That law got changed. I ended up, like I said, getting my pastor's license. So I've been doing like teaching on Zooms and teachings on conference calls and things of that nature, right? Because my spiritual experience was different from a lot of people out here, right? You know what I mean? Because I actually really, for real, you can't fake in prison with your religion and with your beliefs, right? People call that out, you know what I mean? So you can't do a lot of faking, right? If you slipping and dipping and whatever you doing behind the snes, you can be found out in prison.
Oh yeah, they see you, see everything.
Yeah, so so my thing is, so I had to really live my faith, and so I learned to live it real practical. So I've been pretty much teaching on Zooms with this place I got a ministry license from, teaching on conference calls. And so now I'm in the process trying to get some videos done sometime this week. So I can go ahead and upload some stuff, right? I got my ministry website up, Darnell Phillips Ministries. I dedicated it to my mother because, like I said, women, they were pretty much, man, the backbones for me to get out. All my attorneys are women. Majority of my legal team,
What you just said too, I want to touch on that. Excuse me cutting you off, because what you just said was one of the most profound statements I heard about prison. And I didn't even hear it till, I think either I was in re-entry or either after I had already got out. But it just made me think, because when I heard something profound, I pondered on it. But what you just said about the women and stuff, and the dude that said this, he said that he had been working in the system. It was one of the administrators. I remember who it was, too. I think it was a dude named Booker. But he said he had been working in the system for 35 years. I had been in the system for 33 years. He said that women, if you walk into any visiting room on any prison in the world, you're going to see 95% women and only 5% men. Men is the dudes, and when we out here, or before we went in, and even sometimes we out, dudes like to hang around with their buddies or hang around with dudes and your brothers and everybody else. But when you locked up, it's the women who support you. It's the women who come see you. It's the women who take off work. It's the women who sending you money. Dudes ain't coming in that visiting room like that. And I never even thought about it like that until he said that to me. And you said you can walk, and I just pondered back, and all the days I was in the visiting room, and you can look around that visiting room, and you will always see 90-some% women and only a couple of dudes in there.
All right. So I want to jump in here real quick, and I don't mean to cut anybody off. I don't know how that's going to come together right there because we had to change a battery and a camera. Darnell, you mentioned 28 months that you've been home for and all of these things that you've done, starting the clothing line. Matter of fact, the way that me and you came into contact was me seeing you on the news talking about your automotive detailing business. You've worked with, legislation in Richmond in terms of getting laws changed, the Writ of Innocence Act that you've mentioned. If anybody doesn't know what that is, definitely look into that. You had your hands in that as well. Right. And also ministry, which is a huge thing in your life. One thing that I'd like to throw into all of this is what we were just talking about between batteries on the cameras and microphones. And that was, you becoming a part of, I guess, social media, sharing your story on social media and the positive stuff that has come to you from that. Speak about that a little bit if you would.
Not only has it's been a big encouragement from the APS family, of course, as we discussed, you have your trolls and, we're not really, like I said, guys, we're not really used to nonsense like that. A person just, like a gnat in your ear, right?
They wouldn't say it to your face, that's for sure. Neither one of y'all.
But the people who have been they've been monetary encouragement. I might go to my DM, a person might follow me on my Instagram account, but they saw me on APS, okay? They would say, well, look, it's on my heart. I want to share it with you. I want to make sure you get that business up. I saw the video that Joe did. I'm like, sure, so I might get a check in the mail. I'm looking, and I just looked through it, read the letter, because it's encouragement. But I might open it up, I had $1,000 check. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? People that's been on APS family, they want to see you win. I'm like, wow. I said, people really want to see me meet my goal. I even had a young guy who saw me on the After Prison show. Guy, he has autism. This young guy, he's like, look, man, every day, man, I'm gonna pray for you. He was throwing up stuff on Instagram for me. Matter of fact, somebody last night told me they want to help me. I want to help you build your influence up, and with Instagram, right? But they're from After Prison show. She said, regardless whether you want my help or not, she said, I appreciate your story. I saw every show on APS, and I'm like, wow. And so they have been APS has been a major part of my life. You know what I mean? Not just monetarily, but it has been because you have people who really don't know you, but they somehow in their heart, they can feel you. They can pretty much relate to your story, not because of experience, but because of a heart connection. And I mean, I've been enjoying what I've experienced, man, since I've been knowing you, right? It's been a big part of my life, man. It's been a real big part of my life.
I can concur with that, man. I think, like I say, me coming out here after I've been gone for 33 years, I would call it more so with the way you saying it, the way I'm saying it too. I probably just saying it. I just think like the APS was like a reintroduction to the world. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because people who didn't know you and, people who didn't know me, like I said, I started my own platform there too, Banky Pound YouTube channel, and I'm moving up on 16,000 subscribers. And I only had it for almost like 6 months. But most of my subscribers, if not all of them, knew me and knew about my story from APS. Or a lot of them tell, I seen you on APS. I like your story. I want to follow you. I want to, try to help you. I want to be a part of the positive movement because my whole platform is about positivity, encouraging, motivating, and like I say, I don't think Well, I know for a fact I wouldn't have had that many people that knew who I was had it not been for the after prison show,
Definitely.
platform. So, like I say, you're going to have people who hate, that's just something that's in their heart. You're not going to be able to take it out of them. That's something that they're going to have to get out of their own heart. But you're going to have more people with compassion and more people that's, that's sensitive to what you've been through and the fact that you made it through it than others. And that come from the people that watch your platform. Even like you say, with all the, he got 10 times the trolls as everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Me and him together. But at the same time, you help a lot of people and a lot of people rock with you. So you always going, you know what I'm saying? It's always going, the scale is going to always tip in your favor. So it's an amazing platform, man.
Like I said, man, I thought about you the other day, even before you called, right? I think about you often.
You probably thought about, man, I just saw him a month ago at that thrift store and he ain't never called me.
We were in the parking lot. I went to look at some books, man. I said, Joe, supposed to have called me. What happened to that, right? But I understand you're busy,
Yeah, I was riding on a scooter for the first time. And the first time I'm riding on the scooter, and I come around the corner, I see Joe walking across the street. I said, it look like Joe. So I said, stop and get a little closer. I said, that is Joe.
Oh, man.
And I hadn't talked to Banky in like about a month neither.
Yeah.
So, look, I didn't want to make this
super long.
No, I didn't want to make it super long. What I was saying was, let me say this. I really appreciate the kind words from the both of you guys. Banky, you got a hell of a platform going on now with Banky Pound. And I wanted to make this introduction because I thought that this was a really good thing to do.
Oh, for sure.
What's crazy is you did 33 years. You did 27 years. You guys were at the same places during the same amount of times, and you just never ran across each other. And I really want to talk about that as we get closer to wrapping this up. How common is that sort of a thing for you guys to be on the same type of a compound, the same compounds during the same times, and just not have met each other?
It's more common than people would realize because, especially like the compounds that he's talking about, like Greensville, that's the biggest compound in the state of Virginia.
How many people there?
15.
I thought it was like 3,000 or something.
Yeah,
about 30 something.
Yeah,
3,500, something like that.
Yeah, I was adding 15. Yeah, it's about 3,700. So that's like
a small city.
Yeah, that's a huge institution. And then you have people who could be on one side to stay there a decade and never leave that side. Yeah. Like, say, for instance, the dude we was talking about, Van.
Right.
I know Van did 33 years. I think Van did 24 years there, and he never left the one block he was in. Very rare for that to ever happen, but it does happen. You got dudes who did 20, 30 years and did it all on one compound. Very rare for that to happen. Me, myself, I never did more. I did 33 years. I never did more than 6 years on one compound. Never a 6-year stretch is as long as I ever did. And that was Greensville. But for the most part, I'd be on the institution. It'd be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. They shipping you here, there. And you have no say-so in there. You going wherever they send you. So by me we now have acknowledged just what I'm talking. We definitely was on Greensville together. We definitely was on Nottoway together at the same time frames. Never seen them.
That's crazy, though.
Never seen
and you're both boxed.
Yeah.
So you're definitely in the same type of circles, but maybe just not getting the same gym time.
Same thing.
Man, just really interesting thing. I feel like you guys definitely rock with each other. You know a lot of the same people. You definitely can relate on a lot of the same things, especially considering what you both have been through.
Absolutely.
And I think about moving forward, what kind of doors could get opened up. Darnell, you're a powerhouse in everything that you do. Banky, the workouts as well. Boy, it'd be good to see some workouts between the two of y'all, man.
We can make it happen.
Hey, that would be something right there.
We can make it happen. We definitely make it happen.
But we have made this super long, which is exactly what we want to do. We didn't even touch on, there's so much else that we could have incorporated with this, but it would have been 4 hours for us to sit here and do this. What I'd like to do is say that I'd like to revisit this idea. We would like to revisit this idea with you, Darnell, in the near future, to do a part 2 with you, because there's so much more to your story that I want to, that I know we both want to.
Absolutely.
Both could talk about with you.
You can't cram 27 years into an hour or something.
That's hard because you'll even chop everything up. You know what I mean? You'll trip over your own feet, man. Because I'm trying to get my books published. There's a lot of things I'm trying to get done now.
And I can tell you this right now, just from these little things that you saying you already accomplished. Man, you doing more than most, man. There's people who've been out here for their entire life that ain't even made it to that point that you'd have made it to. So that just shows the drive in you. And see, when I see things like that, I get motivated.
Right,
you know what I'm
right.
saying? I get motivated. Like I say, it's just like with Joe. I knew nothing about YouTube. You know, I mean, people probably laugh or whatever, but you got to think, I was in a whole nother world. I knew nothing about YouTube, period. I actually thought YouTube was spelled like a U and a 2. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know it.
Right.
YouTube, actually YouTube. So when I got out and got on it, and then when I first did the first interview with it, and I seen how, people was watching it, and I said, I was just surprised that people is that interested in the things that people went through. So then when I seen it can reach people, it can affect people, it can help people, because I get the most satisfaction out of it when I get people write me too. They say, I make my son watch it, or I let my nephews watch your stuff. I want to keep them positive. I like what you be saying. You ain't glorifying prison, but you letting them know the dangers and the things that they could be in there, the things that could happen to their life if they make one bad decision, one bad mistake, and that's true, man.
Yeah.
That's true. It don't take nothing but a second to mess your life up. And 5 seconds can mess your life up and make you have to do 50 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, man. So it's an amazing platform, and like I say, I wouldn't have knew nothing about it unless I had got into it. So you never know what you can learn if you don't apply yourself. But by you coming out here, being out here this short amount of time and accomplishing all the things you accomplished, man, it's kudos to you, brother. And you're an example.
That, man.
Yeah, you're an example for other people. And like I said, when I see things like that, I get motivated. Like when I saw Joe with the YouTube and I learned about it, I'm motivated. I'm trying to learn all I can learn about it, because you get motivated. Instead of people out there that got something else different in their heart, when they see people doing good, they get mad. Yeah. They get upset. Instead of getting motivated, why not get motivated?
Why not get motivated, bro?
Say they did it, man. Let me go do it. Let me go see what I can do.
Definitely. Definitely.
So you should feel proud of yourself, brother. No doubt, man. You're doing good things.
I appreciate it,
Good
man. I really do.
Well, I think on that note, we should definitely wrap it up. It's been awesome to get a chance to reconnect with you, Darnell. I want to make this more common. You've got a lot of good things going on. 2021 is going to be a good year for everybody. I feel like everybody wants the same thing. They want to see this year be so much better than last year. And you're such a positive person, such a powerful person, and you bring so much to anything that you apply yourself to. I can't say it enough, just how much of an honor it is to have gotten the opportunity to know you, have gotten the opportunity to introduce you to Banky, and to just continue to see what you're going to be doing.
Definitely.
Absolutely, man. 67 years right here. Yeah. 67 years of incarceration, man. And, we out here in the freedom now, and we all trying to do some good things, some positive things, man. So, just imagine what you've accomplished so far, and, what I'm trying to do, what Joe has already done, what 67 years we gave away. Yes, sir. 67 years. That's a powerful thing in itself. So, Joe been out here, 5 years. 5 years. Look at what he's accomplished. You've been out here almost like 2 and some change. I ain't even been out here a year. And we already trying to make changes and stuff. And we gave away 67 years. Gracious. So that's powerful right there, man. That's something that people should think about, what your life could have been. Yeah. And then how much farther you push yourself back. So, we starting over, man, but we on the right track. 2021, like Joe said, going to be a positive year for us all. So, like I say, stay motivated out there, y'all. Stay motivated and look at the example of people like Darnell, man, and Joe, who've done all these things since they've been out already. So just apply yourself, man. Apply yourself out there.
With that, till the next time.
Till the next time, the next podcast. We appreciate y'all tuning in. We hope y'all love this podcast because we're going to try to make it bigger and better. We're going to have some more guests like Darnell, some more positive things being done from people after prison. So I appreciate y'all out there, and y'all know what I always say, be safe, be smart, and make good decisions. Joe.
Peace.
Peace. Thank you, Darnell. I appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Peace, everyone.